quickly turn things over to one of our volunteers for the Oil and Gas Downstream SIG, Joe Carroll. Joe?
Thanks, Danny. So it's my privilege to get to introduce our speaker for today. Again, the topic is Say Goodbye to Asset Information Dead Ends, and our speaker is Mike Jordan. Mike is a thought leader and professional engineer with more than 30 years of experience in strategy development, systems engineering, and program management associated with automation systems in asset-intensive industries. Through extensive engagements with industry-leading engineering, procurement, and construction companies, as well as plant owner-operators, Mike has developed an interesting perspective on the challenges faced by ICT in large capital projects. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, folks. This is Mike Jordan. We'll spend a bit of time today talking about Asset Information Master Data and some new capabilities that SAP brings forward for Asset Master Data Governance. Asset Master Data is the business problem that underlies a lot of things that we face on a day-to-day basis in the enterprise asset management space. We'll first talk about the impact, why it matters, and then we'll talk about some new capabilities that SAP brings to the table for Asset Master Data Governance. The business problem is spoken by one of our colleagues in the industry, Mario Abella of Suncor, like this. Mario says he can go to any car lot and spend $25,000 on a new car, and when he does that, he gets a complete set of operating manuals, repair manuals. He gets online support, and he can drive his car down to the local shop, and they can go online and immediately understand just what spark plug they need to repair his car. So everything top to bottom for operations and maintenance. He can do that for a car, but his company, Suncor, can spend $1 billion on an operating plant and not get the same level of infrastructure. This is the basic business problem that we face in asset-intensive industries when we look to the issues of asset master data. The business drivers that we face on a daily basis are these. Accurate, complete asset master data can have a direct impact on reducing environmental health and safety risk, improving operational performance, and maintaining regulatory compliance. Sometimes when that really comes to bear are capital project. Capital project information handover is forever been a challenge. To start up a new set of assets, everything that is necessary for operations and maintenance of those assets initially lives in the computers and data resident at the engineering construction companies. ARC, an industry analyst, says that accurate, complete, efficient asset information handover can sway the overall cost of the capital project by up to 1%. So done badly, a $100 million construction project can cost an additional $1 million for lack of accurate, complete asset information handover. Shutdowns and turnarounds are another time where asset master data really matters. As you know, during a shutdown, organization will spend 6 months planning the detailed choreography and activities to be performed. If they make those plans based upon inaccurate or incomplete asset information, a 14-day shutdown can easily turn into 15 days, and we all know the horror stories like that. And frankly, even if you do the plans with complete asset master data accuracy, at the end of the shutdown, you've made thousands of changes to the asset master data. If those changes aren't reconciled with the as-built basis, you're moving forward with inaccurate asset information. Mergers and acquisitions become a real common topic in down markets. The healthier companies are acquiring new assets, and onboarding those assets can quite often get lost in the turmoil, and you really need to bring them online and operate them efficiently by using the best practices for maintenance and operations that you deployed elsewhere in your organization. Regulatory compliance is a huge issue. For those 5 to 10% of the assets that are deemed safety critical assets, being able to demonstrate that you have an auditable process to ensure accurate, complete knowledge of those assets is a regulatory requirement. And if you get it wrong, things tend to blow up. Finally, operational excellence depends fundamentally on accurate asset master data. Reliability analytics, risk-based inspection, all of the nice things you want to do really fundamentally depends on a solid confidence that there really is a pump where you think it is. These are the business drivers that make SAP and the oil and gas IBU and the SAP ecosystem focus on addressing these issues. The questions that you often are forced to address from the IT and business perspective. In the transmission, distribution, and the pipeline side of the oil and gas business, do we find asset data inconsistencies between the maintenance system and the GIS system? Are we spending too much time consolidating and rolling up information for regulatory submissions? How do you address content such as maintenance manuals, work orders, quality control documentation, and how do we synchronize structured and unstructured information? Is the handoff of information between organizations? This is the capital project information handover challenge again. Did you really get it right as you pass these data from the various stakeholders? Retention and archiving mechanisms, empowering the field maintenance worker with right information, right spare parts. These are all the challenges that really get down to the impact of accurate asset master data. EPRI did work in the generation arena some years back that's been correlated across multiple asset-intensive industries, looking at the effective time of a maintenance worker. And what they found, in large, is for the typical asset-intensive industry across industries, maintenance workers can spend up to 40% of their time waiting for the information to accomplish their job. They spend another over 5-7% of the time waiting for materials, waiting for tools. All of these really play back to accurate and complete asset master data. If you don't know the assets that are there, you can't build an effective bill of materials. If you don't have a bill of material, you can't be confident that the maintenance guy has the spare parts, has the necessary tools. You can send him out on a job with completely unprepared to do the work that he's set to do, and as a result, on average, they're only working 25% of the time doing effective maintenance work. These are the types of business problems that underlie a desire for asset master data governance. The SAP Value Engineering Organization has done quite a bit of work based upon benchmarking across several sectors of business, and what they found are the types of benefits that you see here. Plant availability, shop floor productivity, MRO supply chain optimization. It's not just a nice to have, but it's a very straightforward capability of the SAP Value Engineering Organization to build up the business cases and put hard monetary value associated with getting the data right in your operating environments. And there are soft benefits or soft business drivers that might not be easily quantified, such as the aging workforce issue. If you look at how we do business today, Most of us don't have accurate, complete asset master data, and we're getting by, but we're getting by based upon the knowledge that's in the heads of our mature workforce that is largely going to be retiring over the next 5 to 10 years. And as the workforce loses this inherent knowledge, the systems have to get smarter. So these are the types of business drivers that take us to a demand for asset master data. Let's talk about what SAP has done to address these business needs. SAP's Enterprise Information Management Solution Suite is a rich set of capabilities that brings several product offerings to bear, and they all interoperate to address the things we're discussing today. SAP Information Steward and Data Services are EIM tools that are effective at cleansing, at validating, at assessing and doing remediation of the underlying asset master data. SAP's OpenText product and extended ECM are tools that address unstructured master data. So, frankly, everything that you hope to use in plant maintenance, all the data, that is, frankly, it begins life as a document. It begins life as a P&ID, as an operating manual. It begins life on a data sheet. And addressing structured and unstructured information in a consolidated environment is really the heart of the business need. OpenText addresses that unstructured information. Master Data Governance is where we'll focus the conversation now, and this is SAP's tool, MDG, now addressing asset master data. MDG has been around for just over 3 years. If you've known SAP for a while, you might have known its predecessor, MDM. MDM was a third-party software that was purchased, brought into the suite, and frankly, SAP learned the lessons of master data using MDM. They then stepped aside and built a tool within the ECC technology suite using ABAP and built into the platform. It's a very much a process-centric, workflow-driven solution that has been very well accepted to address master data governance issues. It's built, as I said, just upon the core ECC suite, so it makes best use of the SAP EIM technologies, the data services, and it's built for purpose as a governance platform. When you look at the typical workflows of this world, as I said, it's a process-centric tool as your governance business processes demand. Begins with role-based establishment of a master data staging area and data stewards that own the responsibility to change your asset information. Then allows you to lay in business processes. The software comes with out-of-the-box processes, but they are configurable so that you can roll in the approval of a subject matter expert. You can route the data out to external services such as reliability analytics if you're using something like the Meridian platform for failure mode analysis. So you can pass the information out for external services for cleansing, duplicate checking, analysis, and then build that collaborative process so that for safety critical equipment changes, perhaps you roll in an additional subject matter expert. Importantly, what you're doing all along the way is you're deploying an auditable workflow. So each of these sign-offs, each of these validations becomes part of your audit trail, so you can touch a bit of information in SAP plant maintenance at the end of it all and say, why do I believe that's correct? And you have an auditable process that says, here's why it's correct, here are the process steps taken, and here's how we can have confidence in the information. Finally, the MDG platform is designed to replicate the data, not just to SAP itself, but to other solutions. So if you have an engineering data warehouse, if you have a external reliability analysis tool or a controls module, MDG is an enterprise platform that allows you to replicate the information to those various components to ensure that you've got synchronization of all the various tools. And as with all of the next generation of SAP applications, the user interfaces, the roles are all configurable so that it's easy to adapt it across the board. You can take MDG onto a mobile platform to allow your maintenance guy in the field to recognize a business problem or a problem with his data and initiate a change request that is then auditable and carried through the process, for instance. This is a picture of the NVG Technology Stack. As I mentioned earlier, it's built right into the ECC platform. On the left-hand side, you see it uses the best of SAP's EIM components. So information steward, data services are rolled right into the validation and enrichment of information for MDG. In the center, you see the other domains that have been available for some time from SAP: finance, materials, vendors, customers. EAM is the new one, and it interoperates smoothly with all the others, such that in the EAM domain, you can create a functional location and equipment and a bill of material. You can then reach into the materials module and assign a material master to that bill of materials. So it is just the newest member of the suite of MDG solutions, all HANA enabled, so you can step up the capability across the board with in-memory computing. This is the list of domains that are addressed by MDG for EAM. As you see, it's quite a rich set of objects. As you know, EAM is not a simple domain. SAP has equipment masters, functional locations, actually bills of material as well, deployed and available today. The next up to bat are linear assets for pipeline, transmission, work centers, and task lists will be coming online this year. This is all one solution from SAP, available as one line item that you purchase. It is priced and sold and supported just as the other MDG domains, and as SAP brings on the new capabilities such as maintenance plans, measuring points, it just come as upgrades to the existing single product that you purchased. And I can tell you that there are conversations with several oil and gas customers that are expediting the development of some of the components there on the right. In summary, that's the conversation about master data governance for enterprise asset management. I'm Mike Jordan with Utopia, a partner of SAP that Utopia was very involved in the development, deployment of this product, but frankly, it's an SAP solution, just like all others. Here on the right, you'll see the names of some of the SAP people in the EAM business practice and the EIM business practice that are directly involved, so you can contact SAP for background, or you can contact your local account executive for more information about MDG for EAM. That's the conversation for today. Joe, back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. I do have a question for you surrounding this. So you've talked a lot about the technology, but is for a successful master data governance, these tools to be implemented, do you find that organizations need to set up some kind of master data council and get a lot of business buy-in and oversight? And can you kind of describe what that governance model might look like?
That's a great question. Yes. In fact, there is a rich set of capabilities for rapid deployment of this solution available from SAP. And as you get into that deployment strategy, one of the first briefings says that addressing master data governance is frankly 80% people and process and 20% technology. So the gurus in this space will say you should consider it really as a long-term life change more than a crash diet. It involves, first of all, determining what information is critical and worthy of governance. Then you have to identify who owns that information, who is the information steward, who has privilege to change the information, who has authority to approve those changes, then who has access to that information. If you know or you're close to how SAP works today, frankly, in the EAM space, it's often structured so that anyone can go in and change anything. And then we have one customer who said there's a whole organization that considers themselves the guys in the parade that walk along behind the elephant with the bucket and shovel. So anybody can change anything, and then they go in and retroactively put it right. MDG fixes that, but it is a life change that involves looking organizationally at how to govern master data within your organization. The product comes with a rich set of business processes and workflows, but frankly, it's adapting your organization to say these things are worthy of governance rather than just ad hoc change, and it's that transformation that the tool facilitates. I'll try to do a shorter answer if there are any more questions, Joe.
Well, I did have one follow-on. So when you've done projects like this, how does one go about quantifying the business value? You know, a lot of times our businesses, especially, we're refiner, they're going to want to know not just productivity improvements, but is there any cost savings to these kinds of projects? So how do you go about that dollar quantification on value?
Great question also, and there are several threads through that. As you saw earlier, the SAP value engineering guys are the experts in this space. We can take one, for example. If you look at MRO supply chain optimization, quite often a symptom of imperfect asset master data is a set of really smart maintenance guys that recognize that they don't know what they don't know. When they're in that environment, they will acquire one of every spare part they might possibly need. And a very good symptom of asset master data is an inordinately large MRO spares inventory. So we're quite often able to justify deployment of these capabilities based on MRO supply chain optimization. What we find is without good asset master data, our customers will have spare parts on the shelf that they're never going to need because they've retired the last pump that ever was going to need such a part. So,
right.
So unless you've got a good knowledge of what assets you have in place, what planned maintenance you plan to do, and then what parts are required, the maintenance guy is going to say, I've got to fix anything that happens, and I'm going to be prepared. So one thread of several, Joe, is saying MRO supply chain optimization is measurably better when you get the governance in place.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that.